Good morning and Jai Hind children. We are discussing the chapter conservation of plants and animals. And in this chapter, in previous class, I started the topic conservation of forests and wildlife. Alright, so we are discussing conservation of forest and wildlife, and there are different methods suggested to conserve our forest and wildlife. And few of the methods we already have discussed. Like we have discussed the first method, that is plant harvesting. We have discussed the second method, that is afforestation. And after that, we also have discussed the third method, that is protection from forest fires. Okay, so these three ways, these three methods we have already explained in previous class to conserve forest and wildlife. Now today I will discuss some more methods, some more practice by which we can conserve our forest and wildlife. Alright, so the next way or the next method is protection from insects and pests. It is protection of our forests and wildlife from what? From insects and from pests. Because these insects, different types of insect, different varieties of insects, and the different kind of pests, that is microorganism. It may be fungi, it may be bacteria, it may be viruses. Alright, they all together termed as pests, harmful, which are harmful for plants as well as for animals also, because they are responsible for causing different kind of diseases in plants as well as in animals. So that is why it need to protect our forest and also wildlife from the effect of these different harmful germs, harmful disease causing microorganism, that is pest, as well as from insects also. Get it? So we can protect our forest and wildlife from pests and insects by using insecticides and fungicides and removing infected area. What we can do? We can use insecticides and fungicides. Insecticides and fungicides are the chemicals which are used to what? Which are used to kill or which are used to remove the insects and the pests from an infected area. Okay, either from the infected plants or from the animals. So we can use these insecticides and the pesticide. We can spray it if some plant get infected from any disease. So what we can do, simply we can spray the pesticide on it. So what will happen, those pests gets removed and now the plants again able to survive well, and the disease will not spread from one plant to other plant. If we will not take any action, then what can happen, the disease gets spread slowly and slowly to all the forest, all the plants there. Get it? So that is why it need to protect our wildlife and forest from insects and pests by using fungicide and insecticide. Alright? Now the next way is protection from overgrazing. protection from overgrazing. Children, you know the meaning of overgrazing. Okay, eating up of more and more grasses and the plants by the cattle, by the herbivores animals. Get it? So this is known as overgrazing. If continue per day or per second day, the animals are going to eat the plants of the same area. So what will happen? No any plants, no any saplings are able to grow there. Is it now? Understood now? Because those cattle will eat all small plants of that particular area. So no trees can grow, no plants can grow, no trees will form, and finally what will happen? What will happen? The number of trees will get reduced because no new tree are going to form because their small plants are put eaten by the animals, cattle especially. Get it? And this continuous eating up of the plants by the cattle or animals are known as overgrazing. Get it? If a place or the grasses or the plants get eaten by the cattle after a long duration, get it? Say that after one month. So what will happen? In this much time, the saplings will get chance to survive. Get it? And no plants can completely remove from that areas. So that is not harmful. But this overgrazing is harmful. Grazing and overgrazing. Understood? The meaning of both. Grazing simply, naturally, eating up of plants by the animals after a long duration. So that is not harmful because in that much duration, the small plants, some of the small plants of the area will get the chance to grow and maintain the number of trees in that particular place. But due to overgrazing, per day grazing by the animals, they will not allow any plant to grow because they will eat up all the kind of plants. Get it? So we must have to protect the forest from the overgrazing by cattle and other herbivores animals. Alright, everyone. Now, so that is why here a method is suggested for protection from the overgrazing, and that method is rotation. It must be rotated. The cattle, like the villagers who are having their number of cattle, if they are going to take their cattle in forest for grazing, so they must have to rotate. Suppose in one day they are going to take their cattle in this part here. So in the second day they have to move to the second part, another side, another direction. Third day, another direction. Fourth day, and so what will happen by this rotation? The saplings will get chance to grow in a particular part of forest. Okay, so this rotation method is suggested here. Now, wildlife conservation is closely related to forest conservation. Just see that the two words are there: forest conservation and wildlife conservation. Under forest conservation, what will come? Protection of trees. And wildlife conservation, protection of wild animals. Get it? But they both are related to each other. If we will conserve forest, then the wildlife can be protected because forests are the natural habitat of wildlife. Is it now? If forest conservation will not occur, deforestation will occur, then what will happen? The wildlife also lose their natural habitat to survive. Right? That is why it's given that they both are related, closely related to each other. And when a forest is destroyed, a large number of animal becomes extinct or endangered. So, to conserve the habitat of endangered animals, it is necessary to protect the forest. What is necessary? If we want to protect our animals, wild animals, so we must have to protect the forest because the forest will provide them home to live, it will provide them food to eat. Alright. So all the necessary condition which is responsible for survival of any animal is provided by the forest. Get it? So the animal will not comes easily in the category of endangered. Animals will not get extinct easily if they will get their natural habitat, that is forest. Understood? So that is why it is suggested here. If we want to protect our wildlife or animal, so what we have to protect? We have to protect our forest. Then these animals can be protected. Otherwise, animals will not get protected. Without killing the animals, animals can die. Why? Because they are going to lose their natural habitat, that is forest. Understood, everyone? So here few steps are given by which we can protect the wildlife. We can conserve the wildlife. And the first one is habitat preservation. Habitat preservation, a method, a step which are used to conserve what? Wildlife. Get it? And habitat preservation is what? It is actually the preserving habitat of wildlife. Helps in their conservation. If we protect the place where the animals are living, our wild animals are living, so what will happen? Those animals will also get protected because they can live easily in their natural habitat. Get it? So habitat preservation is an important step by which we can protect our wildlife also. And preventing deforestation is an important method of habitat preservation. And how the habitats of the animal get preserved? How? By stopping the deforestation, by stopping the cutting down of trees. Okay, so if the forest will not get cut, what will happen? The natural habitat of wildlife gets preserved, get protected, and finally those wild animals gets protected. Get it? Gets conserved. And this afforestation provides shelter and food for wildlife. If we are going to plant the new tree, new saplings, okay, as some of the trees which cuts from the forest, so in place of that, if we are going to plant more trees, afforestation, so what will happen? That afforestation will provide shelter and food to wildlife. It means that the wild animals are going to get their food as well as their home. How? From the forest. Get it? So this is one of the steps to conserve wildlife. Second step is hunting regulation. Hunting regulation. Hunting, the killing of wild animals. You see, that is hunting, either for their skin or for their bones or for their tusks and all. So this hunting must be regulated. And how it will be regulated? It will be regulated by the strict laws, strict regulations of the government. Alright, so government regulations related to hunting and their effective implementation is very important for wildlife conservation. So what government had to do here? Government has to make the strict laws and those laws must be adopted by everyone, must be implemented. The officers, those who are appointed for it, they must work efficiently. Get it? To operate these all regulations, government regulation. Then what will happen? Wildlife can be conserved. Okay. And the hunting of endangered species is completely banned. Which kind of species? Endangered. Remember, endangered species are those species whose number are very less. Is it? So killing. are hunting up this kind of species must be banned by the government, completely banned, completely stopped. No one can kill such endangered species, otherwise they caught by the police, they must have to pay, they can go to the imprisonment. All right, they must have to pay the fine. So strict laws must be there, and it should be completely banned. Then we can protect our endangered species of wild. Get it? And one more thing is there, that illegal hunting of animals, which is called poaching. And in India, though the hunting of tiger is banned, if here a particular word is given, poaching, for what? For illegal hunting. Illegal hunting means the people, those who are going to kill the animals, wild animals, illegally, illegally, without the permission of government, without the permission of any official persons. So such a killing of the animals are known as poaching. And in our country, as the number of tigers are very less, so the poaching of tiger or hunting of tiger is completely banned. Okay, no one can kill the tigers. If anyone is going to kill, it means that he is going to kill it illegally. Alright, understood everyone? So, this hunting of tiger is banned and they are being regularly killed as their what? Skin and bones that fetch large amount of money. Why the tigers are going to kill? Because to skin and their bones, which are sold in the market at high prices. That is why people are going to hunting it, killing it. And effective implementation of such laws is therefore of extreme importance. What is importance right now? The implementation of the government laws, the rules, regulations, laws which are made by the government, it must be applied also. It does not mean that only the laws are made and it is kept in the books. No. It must be applied by everyone, by every departments, by every officers and all. Then it will be effective. Otherwise, it will not be effective. Clear? So if we want to stop completely the hunting of wild animals, so the laws made by government should be implemented effectively. Okay, understood everyone? So this one is the conservation of forest and wildlife. Different methods are given here, different steps are suggested. If we adopt them, if we use them, so what can happen? Our forest will be conserved and our wildlife will also be conserved. Clear? Now, as we are discussing about the government steps, the steps which are taken by the government to protect the forest and wildlife. So now in the next topic we will discuss about the same, that certain areas which are made by government for the protection of wildlife and forests. And these protected areas are the biosphere reserves, wildlife sanctuaries and national parks. Get it? Another way to protect, to conserve is creating what? Protected areas. This is also a way by which we can conserve our forest and wildlife. If we protect overall area in which those wildlife is living, those animals are living, or the plants are present. So what will happen? The animal will not lose their natural habitat and no cutting down of trees will happen. So such areas are known as protected areas. And we have how many kind of protected areas? Three kind of protected areas. First one is biosphere reserves. Biosphere reserves. Get it? And the second one is wildlife sanctuaries. And the third one is national park. Get it? These are the three kind of protected areas in which forest as well as wildlife they all are going to protect. Get it? So come one by one. Just to effectively implement the methods of conserving forest and wildlife, the government has set aside permanent protected areas for conservation of biodiversity in that area. As already I have told, government has created some protected areas in which what happened? What is going to protect? The overall biodiversity of that area is going to protect. Overall biodiversity, including plants and animals. Okay, so overall species of plants and animals are going to protected in such areas. And these areas are known as biosphere reserves. What they are known as? Biosphere reserves. Philip, a biosphere reserve is a large protected area that is set aside for conserving biodiversity as well as the traditional lifestyle of the tribal living in that area. Just go through a little difference between these three protected areas. Biosphere reserves are the large protected area. Okay, the area which comes under biosphere reserve is very large, and whatever the biodiversity that is present in that area, along with the tribal people, you already have studied about the tribes now, tribal people now, which are found in different parts of our country in different forests. So, if in that area any tribal people are living, so they also get protected. No one is going to just take out those tribal people from those forests. They are allowed to live there. Okay, and they can live in that biosphere reserve area as they are living from past without the what? Without affecting the forest and wildlife. So they are allowed to live there. So such a large protected area along with all forest, wildlife as well as tribal communities. Okay, that area is known as biosphere reserve. Get it? Everyone? Now, there are 18 biosphere reserves in India. In our country, how many biosphere reserve we have? 18 biosphere reserve. And some of the examples are given here like Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve. One of the large biosphere reserve of our country is Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve. The Panchmani Biosphere Reserve. The another example is, another name is what? Yes, Panchmani Biosphere Reserve. This is also one of the name of the Biosphere Reserve. The Sundarban Biosphere Reserve. You must have heard about Sundarban now. Sundarban Biosphere Reserve. It is also a large protected areas of different kind of forest, trees, wildlife, as well as tribes. Okay, and the Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserves. These are from some of the example of Biosphere Reserve. How many example I have given? The first one, Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve. Second one, Panchmani Biosphere Reserve. Third one, Sundarbans Biosphere Reserve. And the fourth one is Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserves. Get it? Clear about Biosphere Reserve? Now come to the next, national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. They are also the protected areas. Okay, and these are made especially are mainly to protect the forest to preserve wildlife. Why they two are made? Wildlife sanctuaries and national park just to protect the forest and wildlife. But this one is made to protect forest, wildlife as well as tribal communities. Okay, but here in these areas, tribal communities are not found. So they are made mainly to protect forests and wildlife or wild animals. Get it? And the animals can breed and multiply in these areas. These are the areas which are made to provide sufficient condition, natural condition in which different species of animals can reproduce and can produce their what? Babies and increase their population, because no one is allowed in these areas to kill the animals. Okay, so naturally their number can increase. Get it? Understood everyone? Now, in India, in our country, there are a large number of wildlife sanctuaries and national parks. We have number of wildlife sanctuaries and national parks, and they all are managed. These all are managed by what? By whom? By our government. Okay, our government manage all national parks, all wildlife sanctuaries and all. And government also restrict that cutting down of trees and hunting or capturing of animals in these reserves. Okay, it is strictly prohibited as the government is going to manage these areas. So, what is the law of the government in these areas? Cutting down trees, hunting of animals, capturing of animals. Hunting and capturing, they both are the different. Some people capture the animals and sold them. Get it? And different people are going to purchase it and keep it as a pet in their home. And one of the very common example, parrots, a bird parrot, which are kept as a pet in different homes by people. Nah? So it get captured. Just like that, other animals are also going to capture. So no killing, no capturing, and no cutting down of trees occurs here in national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. It is. Everyone. Okay. A biosphere reserve, which we have discussed already, it may have national parks and wildlife sanctuaries within it. Remember that I have told biosphere reserves are a large protected area, very large protected area. So inside biosphere reserve, wildlife sanctuaries can be there. National parks can be there. You can understand that. Suppose this is the large area in our country. It is a biosphere reserve. Inside this one biosphere reserve, many wildlife sanctuary and national park can be there. Okay, so you can understood that how large biosphere reserves are. Get it? Everyone? Alright. So, a biosphere reserve may have national parks and wildlife sanctuaries within it. And the example, the Panchmani Biosphere Reserve in Madhya Pradesh. One of the example of biosphere reserve I have told now, Panchmani Biosphere Reserve. It is situated in which state? Madhya Pradesh. So in this Panchmani Biosphere Reserve, what is there? One national park is present, and the name of that national park is Satpura National Park. Satpura National Park, situated in Panchmani Biosphere Reserve. Get it? Alright. And the two wildlife sanctuaries are also present there in the same biosphere reserve. And the name of these wildlife sanctuaries are Gori Wildlife Sanctuary and what? The other is yes, Pachmira wildlife sanctuaries. So two wildlife sanctuaries and one national park is situated under the biosphere reserve. Which biosphere reserve? Panchmani Biosphere Reserve. Get it? Now, some other national parks which are present in our country are, their names are like Bandipur National Park, Bandipur National Park, Gir Forest National Park. You must have heard Gir Forest National Park, present in Gujarat. Is it now? To protect what? Lions, especially for lions. Okay, and Kaziranga National Park. Where? In Assam. To protect the, yeah, one horn rhinoceros. Get it? So these are the some examples of wildlife sanctuaries and the national parks. Wildlife sanctuaries which are present in our country are, the names are given also here, like Salim Ali Bird Sanctuary. Salim Ali Bird Sanctuary. It is a kind of wildlife sanctuary and especially made to protect certain species of birds. Get it? Kutch Wildlife Sanctuary, Kakakoram Wildlife Sanctuaries. So these are the names of the wildlife sanctuaries of our country, which are meant to protect the different species of animals and the birds. Get it? Understood, everyone? Clear? In your book, there is a map given of India, and in that map, wildlife reserves in India is going to shown. Get it? So you can go through the map and you can prepare a list in your notebook. In that list, you will write down the name of national park, wildlife sanctuary, and bird sanctuary, because these three are indicated there in the map and the names are mentioned there. So go through the name only, write the name. First of all, make three columns in your notebook. In first column, you will list down the national parks. Second column, you will list down the wildlife sanctuaries. And in the third column, you will list down the bird sanctuaries. So go through the map given and list down the names. Get it? Understood everyone now? Alright. Now, as the Forest Conservation Act in India aims at reservation and conservation of natural forests. However, in spite of such laws, poachers do kill animals for their body parts, such as ivory or tiger skin, which fetch high prices, and people living in the neighborhood also encroach upon the forest and destroy them. Just look at the scenario, present scenario. As the government has made the law, there is a strict law, act, and the name of that act is Forest Conservation Act, okay, of our country of India. And what is the main purpose of this act? Reservation and conservation of natural forest. But after making this act, this law, what people are going to do? The poachers means those people who are poaching the animals, killing the wild animals. So such poachers kill the animals for their body parts. And one of the very common example, what? The skin. Whose skin? Tiger skin, which, which is also known as ivory. So ivory is the name of tiger skin which are sold at high prices. Okay, so that is why poachers are going to kill the tiger to get their ivory. And people who are living in neighborhood, they also encroach upon the forest and destroy them. The people who are living nearby the forest, like the local villagers, the villages which are situated near the forest, so those villagers are also moving in the forest and they are going to destroy them. They cutting the trees and take out the wood for their fuel to cook the food and all. Get it? They cut the trees to make their own fields to grow the crops and all. So the local people are also going to destroy the forest by different purpose, by their different activities. Now we have an organization, WWF. What is the full name? World Wide Fund for Nature. WWF, World Wide Fund for Nature, and International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resource. These are the two organization. What one? First one WWF and second one IUCN. IUCN. You must have to remember the full name of these two organizations. WWF, that Worldwide Fund for Nature, and second IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. So these are the international organizations that work towards wildlife conservation. These organization is working for what? They are working for conservation of wildlife and forest. The main aim of these organizations are to protect the different species of wild animals. Get it? Understood, everyone? So you can say that these are the international organization. Means they are working internationally in all the countries, different countries they are working, and they are working for what? They are working for protection of wildlife. Okay, so this one is all about these topics, and I hope that you understood these all topics. All right, children, thank you and have a nice day.